Ethan Cole stood before the towering gates of Blackwood Penitentiary, its iron bars entwined with rust and ivy, casting skeletal shadows in the dying light of dusk. The prison loomed like a fortress of desolation against the blood-red sky, every stone whispering tales of misery and madness. A seasoned investigative journalist, Ethan was no stranger to darkness, but tonight an uneasy chill gnawed at the edges of his resolve. Decades had passed since the entire prison population, including the warden, had vanished without a trace. This enigma had drawn him here, but beneath his professional determination lay a personal quest, to silence the lingering echoes of his own haunted past. Stepping across the threshold, Ethan felt as though he had entered the maw of a slumbering beast. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and something more elusive, a stagnant aura of despair that clung to his skin. His footsteps echoed through the forsaken corridors, each tap a solitary heartbeat in the silence. The flashlight's beam wavered over peeling paint and corroded cell bars, casting elongated shadows that danced like phantoms along the walls. Graffiti mingled with desperate carvings from former inmates, their messages of hopelessness etched into stone, a grim tapestry of forgotten souls. As he ventured deeper, the oppressive quiet was pierced by a distant clanging, the unmistakable rattle of chains. Ethan paused, the hairs on his neck prickling. "It's just the wind," he muttered, forcing a wry smile. Yet, as he proceeded, the sounds grew more distinct. Muffled cries, incoherent whispers weaving through the cold air. His journalist's pragmatism battled with a creeping dread. Memories of his childhood fears resurfaced, shadows under the bed and faceless figures in the dark. Shaking his head, he pressed on, driven by a need to confront not just the mystery of the prison, but the shadows that lurked within himself. He entered the warden's office, an eerie time capsule untouched by vandalism. Dust motes floated in the stale air, illuminated by the dim glow of his flashlight. On the desk lay an open ledger, names meticulously recorded and brutally crossed out with crimson ink. A faded portrait of the warden hung on the wall, eyes that seemed to follow Ethan with a cold, accusatory stare. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. He spun around, heart pounding. As the temperature plummeted, the whispers intensified, coalescing into discernible words laced with malice. "Join us," they beckoned. Panic tightened his throat. He grasped the door handle, but it refused to yield. The room began to warp, a distortion of reality as the walls pulsated with a visceral darkness. Figures emerged from the shadows, spectral prisoners with hollow eyes and gaunt faces twisted in eternal agony. Their chains dragged along the floor, a dissonant symphony of torment. Ethan stumbled back, his rational mind fracturing under the weight of the impossible. One apparition stepped forward, its translucent hand reaching out. "We've been waiting," it rasped. The journalist's fear erupted, propelling him to action. He barreled through the phantoms, bursting into the corridor where the lights flickered ominously. Disoriented, Ethan raced through the labyrinthine passages, the ghosts of the damned in relentless pursuit. The prison seemed alive, corridors stretching and shifting to confound his escape. His breaths came in ragged gasps as he descended into the bowels of the penitentiary, drawn by an inexplicable pull. He burst into a cavernous chamber, a hidden execution room veiled in darkness. In the center stood a rusted electric chair, arcane symbols etched into the floor around it. The air hummed with malevolent energy. Trapped, Ethan faced the encroaching spirits. Desperation clawed at his sanity as he fumbled for any hope of salvation. Amidst the encircling wraiths, a glint caught his eye. A silver pendant hanging around his neck. a relic from his mother who had always been his beacon against the darkness. Grasping it, he felt a warmth emanate from the talisman, pulsating with a soothing light. The ghostly figures recoiled, their forms flickering. "This is not your place," he shouted, his voice infused with newfound strength. The chamber trembled as the symbols on the floor ignited, flames spiraling upward to form a barrier between him and the vengeful dead. The warden's apparition materialized beyond the fire, his eyes burning with eternal rage. "You cannot escape the fate that binds us all," he thundered. Ethan met the warden's gaze, a calm defiance steadying his trembling limbs. "I choose my own fate," he declared. Clutching the pendant, he stepped forward, the flames parting before him. Light surged from the artifact, engulfing the chamber in a radiant glow that overwhelmed the shadows. Agonized screams reverberated as the spirits dissolved into the ether, the prison's hold weakening. The floor gave way, and Ethan felt himself falling, adrift in a void where time and space intertwined. In that abyss, he confronted his deepest fears, the guilt he harbored, the pain he had long suppressed. And then, like a vessel breached by light, he let it all pour out. He awoke, sprawled on the cold, dew-laden grass outside the prison gates. Dawn was breaking, streaks of gold and pink painting the horizon. Blackwood Penitentiary stood silent and inert, its sinister aura diminished. Ethan's body ached, but a profound peace settled over him. The pendant lay warm against his chest, its surface now etched with unfamiliar symbols. Rising unsteadily, he gazed back at the prison one last time. The shadows no longer seemed as menacing. They were simply the absence of light, nothing more. The mysteries he sought had nearly cost him his soul, but in facing them he had reclaimed a part of himself long buried. As he walked away, the weight of the past lifted with each step. Ethan knew he wouldn't write about what transpired. Some truths transcended words, residing instead in the silent transformations of the heart. His journey had not just been to uncover the fate of the vanished, but to confront the specters of his own making. The cries of Blackwood's lost souls faded with the morning breeze, relinquishing their grip. For the first time in years, Ethan looked toward the future not with apprehension, but with a quiet determination. The road ahead was uncertain, but he was no longer running from shadows. He was walking toward the light.